Welcome back to Gem Pursuit. It's Matthew here, and we are back for another episode in our Jewellery in Paintings series. Last time out, we talked about the Drake, the jewel, but we're moving to something a little bit more recent, but equally impressive and stunning. And I think a lot of people will be aware of this in their mind, but they might not realize how important it is for jewellery. She's been called the Rebel Princess, a daughter of Grace Kelly and muse to Karl Lagerfeld, and the subject of an Andy Warhol portrait even, which is the jumping off point for today's episode. And I'm very happy to be welcoming Fenia Seguti, art historian and a very important member of the Courtfield team. Fenia, welcome back.
Thank you, Matthew. That was very kind. I'm very excited to be here. Caroline of Monaco today. Such an impressive lady, gorgeous, very stylish, a very characteristic example of the 80s in terms of jewelry. Very excited to start exploring her collection.
I'd just like to say at the outset, we have also recently started a dedicated Gem Pursuit podcast Instagram page at Gem Pursuit Pod. And if you're not on that already, I definitely recommend just before we start, go onto Instagram, give it a follow, because we have lots of extra bits of information, nice visuals, and there's loads of content going up there. So if you're interested in, vintage antique jewelry and the podcast, definitely recommend giving that a shout. But with that, let's get started into Caroline of Monaco. First up, Fenia, we're looking at the painting and the jewel. And we say painting, but I suppose we're really talking about a portrait, aren't we?
Yes. So in the previous episodes, we explored oil paintings, like very traditional types of portraits. This time, we're talking about a very unconventional type of portrait. We have a silk print portrait created by Andy Warhol, the famous pop art visual artist from the US. Caroline looks extremely impressive in this portrait. It's what you imagine when you think of one Andy Warhol. So we have Caroline in a very two-dimensional way, lots of bright colors, red, vibrant lipstick, big hair, sexy as well, I would say. Her back is almost like turned to us. We can see her bare back. She wears a beautiful silk blue dress. Her hair is big and bold and beautiful. It almost looks like a mohawk, wouldn't you say, Matthew?
This is probably not the look a royal would have gone for. It's a bit risque in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A matching set of earrings and also a brooch. But interestingly, the brooch is actually not on her well, it's on the dress, but it's not on the front where you'd expect to see a brooch normally. It's actually on the back of her shoulder, which when you actually think about it, makes a lot of sense, because everybody walking behind her is going to be able to see this piece of jewelry, right?
Yes.
So it's actually great, because normally obviously you have to look at somebody front on, because if you see their earrings or if you see a ring or a necklace, so isn't this? So it's a really great way to wear that piece of jewelry, I think. And then if we were to describe the pieces, what do you see, Fenia?
Well, we have a set, two beautiful big floral earrings. They look like roses. They have diamonds all over them and probably sapphires as well. The brooch is matching also. They go very well with her blue dress. And I would say that the placement of the jewelry on her dress and her whole pose for the picture and the portrait afterwards is magnificent. Andy Warhol was really a master of his craft, and this is obvious in this particular painting.
And even Andy Warhol's, it's like the monochromatic look of the portrait. So the earrings are big, right? These are not, 1980s jewelry is not discreet,
No.
right? We've got beautiful Edwardian pieces downstairs that are so fine and so delicate, but incredibly made. These, I'm sure, are incredibly made, but they are not what I would call discreet or fine jewelry. They're quite bold. The earring has a central diamond, round brilliant cut, looks like from the photo, and then it's surrounded by concentric circles. So you've got diamonds around that, then you've got a row of sapphires around that, and you've got another row of diamonds around that. So as I can count it there, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, possibly 1, 2, 3. So possibly 5 rows of different stones. So it gives that, as I said, that typical 1980s monochromatic, the dark blue sapphires, the diamonds, the dark blue sapphires, the diamonds, right? And then those are the earrings, and obviously we can only see one, but I'm guessing it was there's two. Although we were talking to Sarah, another member of the Courtville team, the other day, and Sarah was telling us that typical 80s style, sometimes they did only actually have one earring.
Yeah, one earring and black lipsticks, he said.
I actually used to have a friend, and she had this really nice pair of earrings that she liked, and she actually lost one. So she actually changed her haircut just so she could wear the one earring, right?
Okay.
But the brooch is actually, it's very obviously matching the piece.
Yeah.
But it's also almost reversed. So it's the sapphires in the middle, right? So in the earring, you've got that beautiful diamond in the middle, and then you've got kind of little sapphires and diamonds. But this is very much sapphire central. Then you've got the little row of diamonds around it, then a big row of sapphires, diamonds, sapphires, diamonds. So like it's very clearly matching, but it's the inverse of it.
Yes.
And I guess you mentioned about the portrait. And I was thinking about this before, Fenia. Because we're releasing our magazine, which I don't want to give too much away. If you want one, just give us a shout. We will send you a magazine anywhere in the world that On Post delivers to. That's the Irish Postal Service. But we had some great 90s, 80s jewelry, and we really wanted to talk about that. We were like, we can't find any portraits from the 1980s.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So when we decided to launch this series of like jewelry within, like through portraits, we were trying to find a painting that would be representative of each like era, of each period. We wanted to have something that would represent our inventory as well. It was very difficult to find something from the 1980s until we like bumped into this gorgeous silk portrait of Caroline. This is not a stereotypical royal portrait. Before Caroline's time, most of royals, most of like the members of royal families used to like hire artists to create oil paintings for them. Caroline had this made by a very unconventional artist. This portrait was created for the cover of Vogue magazine for the issue of December 1983/January 1984. I think that we should talk a little bit about the pop art movement. In our previous episodes, we talk a lot about Vermeer, and I think that we should like treat Warhol in the same manner as well. We should pay our respect to the artist.
I think it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just 300 years in the difference or whatever, So
yeah. And his contribution to the world of art is very, very impressive, very, very important. Warhol is one of the most like distinctive, groundbreaking pop artists in the US. Pop art is basically a movement that like started developing after the 1940s when mass media started becoming very prevalent in our everyday lives. It uses imagery from like commercial art. We have like comic books, advertisements, snippets from movies, and posters, things like that. So it originates from commercial art, and it's a type of movement. It's a practice that basically explores and challenges the boundaries between what is considered popular culture, popular art, what we define as low culture sometimes, and fine art, so high culture. Artists like Andy Warhol used to employ imagery from commercial art or images of like icons, idols, movie stars to basically make acute comments about like various social events. They made social commentary. It feels like they're celebrating and critiquing like celebrity culture, consumerism, capitalism, the way like
by virtue of the fact that they're actually using it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we have Caroline here presented in this way highlights how much she influenced popular media and how people used to idolize her and perceive her as a person. Caroline is an extremely private person, and unlike Elizabeth, for example, in our Drake Jewel episode, who really wanted to promote her public image through jewelry, through a Drake Jewel, Caroline was very private as a person. It's very difficult to learn a lot about her through her interviews or through her public statements. She's very diplomatic. And I think that this portrait is a very good example of basically like it allows us to have a small glimpse of her strong personality and her rebel quality. She used to be called the rebel princess in the press all the time. She was famous for partying a lot. She's a very athletic person. She's a very famous sportswoman. She drives cars, motorcycles. I think she also she can fly a plane as well.
Sounds like a movie character.
She's like a movie character, and I think this is why Warhol portrayed her like that.
In today's context, it might not have been as, racy or whatever, but like it's still, that was 42 or 43 years ago. Like the time was different as well. It would have been quite a bold move for her to put this out there, I think.
100%.
So
100%. And we're talking about like a princess back in like the 60s, 70s, 80s.
yeah.
So
very proper.
very proper. The daughter of Grace Kelly as well, who was very famous for having this refined, elegant, like poised image. And then you have like Caroline, like a party girl or a rebellious princess, athletic, very well educated. She went to the Sorbonne. She partied a lot. She married thrice.
and the first one they weren't happy with. It was a French guy. He was 17 years older than her, and I think that was almost quite rebellious in a way, because I think she was 21 and her family weren't a big fan of that marriage at all.
When we see Caroline in this painting, like when this was created, she had just become the heiress of Monaco, the first lady of Monaco. She had just lost her mom as well the previous year, Princess Grace, in a very tragic car accident. Have you ever seen To Catch a Thief, which is like a movie of Grace?
Yes, I have. My dad always watches it at Christmas all the time.
It's about a jewel thief.
Yeah.
Yeah, called The Cat. Anyways, it was one of like the first movies of Grace. It takes place in Monaco. Grace drives a car through the narrow streets of Monaco. You can see her driving through those hills. She fell from one of those cliffs at some point. So it's like very, if you think about it, when you see her driving, yeah. But anyways, so when we see Caroline in this portrait, she has recently lost her mother. She's probably in a period of grieving herself. She has a lot of pressure on her. She's the heiress of Monaco at this point. She has her first, she has a royal portrait, and this is what they go for, which is very unconventional, very impressive, very cool, if you ask me. And I think that she had a little bit of she contributed a little bit for the whole creation of it, because she used to be, I think Vogue made her an editor for that issue, a honorary editor. And they wanted to take a picture of her for that reason as well.
I don't think you could get a picture like that without her buy-in. Like, obviously, there's a director or whatever giving direction, but that to me, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I say she definitely contributed strongly to the visuals and just the aura of that portrait.
For sure. And I think that the portrait, if you view it from a social point of view, a historical point of view, it really underlines how much Caroline was influencing media at the time, how much of an influence she was. Warhol, at this point in his life, he was capturing various celebrities through this medium. Like, we have pictures of Marilyn, we have pictures of Elizabeth Taylor, things like that. And he chooses to do the same thing for a royal. If you look at the painting, like, it's very film noir in a way. She's very mysterious. She's very alluring. She's almost portrayed as a movie actress, as a film star, instead of like a very rigid princess. And this underlines how much like members of the royal family have become like a part of pop culture. How much we see them, we're used to seeing them in the media, and we idolize them and things like that.
I think some of the jewelry like surrounding this portrait and that Caroline has were really interesting, and I like that she used her jewelry in versatile ways. And I think there's two pieces we have to talk about. And then the first one is, again, it's one that typically as an antique jewelry dealer, you'll see it like in 18th, 19th century pieces. You'll see uh this category of jewelry. And don't forget that today, what do we sell? We tend to sell rings, we tend to sell necklaces, brooches, earrings, but there was other categories of jewelry, and Caroline had what is called a stomacher,
Yeah.
which is an incredible piece of jewelry. And I mean, we just can't talk about Caroline of Monaco unless we talk about this stomacher.
We're going to talk about the stomacher and about another piece. I think it's very important to like mention that these two pieces are not included in the portrait. Unlike the previous two episodes that we have done in German Pursuit, where we have like paintings that showcase a particular jewel that we discuss. In this particular case, we've chosen a really magnificent portrait that will represent the 1980s period. And we are going to basically explore two additional jewelry pieces that are not in the portrait, but are very well linked to the personality of the sitter.
Well, let's say, what one would you want to talk about first if you had to pick one, if you had to own one?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a very difficult question.
Yeah.
Let's start from the antique stomacher because
Okay.
you mentioned it.
Mm.
So this piece is very impressive. It's quite big. It's close to like 28 centimeters long. So if you put it on you, like it will cover like a big portion of your torso. It's in the form of a reed. Do you know what a reed is, Matthew? You probably do. But
It's some sort of aquatic plant life.
a reed is a plant that basically grows on riverbeds. So it's a very humble plant, has a very long stem, it's very bendy, and it has like a flower in the form of a foamy cylinder, like a foam cylinder. And it's very famous for basically being very resilient in very harsh weather conditions. It bends, but it never breaks. And the metaphor, like, because of this quality, the reed has been used a lot symbolically to represent people who are very resilient in hardships. And Caroline herself, she had a very like tragic life if you consider it. Like she lost her mother at the age of 25, 1982. She was 25 years old. She had to like take all the responsibilities that her mother had as like the first lady of Monaco, and she did very, very well. And in 1990, she also lost her second husband.
Who I think she really loved. That was the love of her life. I
Yeah,
think.
that was very, very tragic.
Mm.
His name was Stefano Casiraghi, a powerboat racer. He died in an accident
Yeah.
during a race, and she had 3 children at this point.
Yeah. Oh,
So a
God.
widow and a single mother. She, like very, very tragic. She lost her father a couple of years later, but she has managed to basically step up and resume her role with no problems. I think that she would have made her mother very, very proud. And I think that this particular brooch is very fitting for a person like her because of this resilience that she has showcased so far. So the stomacher, because it's not a brooch, it's a stomacher. It's in the form of like 2 reeds, 2 like bouquets of reeds. They're tied at the bottom with like a bow, and they are very lifelike. If you see them, it feels like they bend under a very like soft breeze. They're very naturalistic in their design, and they were created during the Belle Époque era, 1893, by the French house of Chaumet. The reed was a very typical design of the time. They really like their florals. They really like their nature-inspired themes.
Which is, again, like, she's, very typical, 1980s style, but she still wore this beautiful antique piece, which is, I think, a great way of mixing the two together. And I'd also say, much like her portrait, where she wore the brooch on kind of the back of her shoulder. She wears this. She actually, I know you said she doesn't wear it. She actually does wear it sometimes as a brooch. Sometimes as a stomach. She wears it sometimes inverted
Mm-hmm, yeah. Yeah.
across her décolletage, like
Yeah.
as kind of like a almost a pin, like a dress together kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I just love how she was so versatile with jewelry. I don't think sometimes people don't realize how versatile you can actually use these pieces as. Like, don't forget that a lot of the time brooches originally were functional.
Yeah.
They were there to hold a cape in place or a cloak or whatever. Like, you know, go back to our some of our episodes about Irish jewelry, Tower brooch. Like, that was a functional piece of jewelry to actually hold a cape in place. And Caroline actually uses the pieces for their beauty, obviously, but also their symbolism, which I think you beautifully described there, but also for function. They do a job.
Yeah, exactly. She has definitely been very creative as far as like placing her jewelry. Exactly as you mentioned before, regarding the brooch that she put, like the flower brooch that she put at the back of her shoulder, a Andy Warhol portrait. As far as craftsmanship is concerned, I think that the item is very impressive. Like, we have beautiful all cut diamonds. The back is gold, I think, and then you have silver around the diamonds to
Yeah, I think
complement their
silver
color.
and gold.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just check the yeah, gold backed and probably silver
Yeah.
topped. But like, I mean, oh, the quality is unbelievable. Chaumet at that time, like super desirable in today's market. I mean, forget the provenance, which would make it, you know, to a different stratosphere. But just even as it is, it's really, really good. And then the old cut diamonds and the design. And she has a lovely shot of her there we have here where she's wearing it with these, I'm not going to say matching, but I'm going to say complementary earrings. Like, it's just a fantastic, fantastic piece. And the variety she wears it with.
Yeah, and it was most likely given to her by the famous designer Karl Lagerfeld, who was a very close friend of the princess. She has mentioned in many interviews that he was very supportive during times of hardship. He was close to her when she lost her mother, when she lost her husband. We don't know the circumstances under which he gave the stomacher to her, or if he even had the the symbolism of the reed in mind when he gave it to her. But if he did, that turns this piece into a very meaningful gift from a close friend to another. It's not just a beautiful piece of jewelry; it's something very like special. And I can't stop thinking about that quote from You've Got Mail. Have you seen You've Got Mail?
Fenya.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it. That's probably. So when I was moving house
Okay.
years ago, my dad loves Meg Ryan, right?
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it's Meg Ryan and
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, yeah.
Tom Hanks, yeah.
So when we were moving house, I found 3 VHS copies of You've Got Mail in his room. That's not an exaggeration.
All right.
He obviously just couldn't find it. He was like, I'll just buy another one. Like, but yeah, no, I've seen that film. You've Got Mail. Yeah,
I see. Yeah, there is this very famous quote in the quote in this film. Quote as in like a saying, a phrasing.
Quote, yeah, quote, yeah. No,
Quote.
we got it, yeah. Quote.
Thank you. Where like the boyfriend of the protagonist of Meg Ryan says to her that you are a lone reed. You are a lone reed, standing tall and waving boldly in the corrupt sands of commerce. Because she has a very small like bookshop
Yeah.
and then a big chain tries to basically overpower her and get her out of business. So her boyfriend like highlights that she's like resilient in times of hardship. She's a lone reed. And when I see this stomacher, I just can't stop thinking about this.
There was another Chaumet piece as well, right?
Mhm.
And I just think this is an amazing piece. How would you describe it to someone if someone who has never had any experience to like fine jewelry?
Well, for starters, I would say that it's a headdress, like a headpiece. So you're meant to wear it on your head, but it's more than that. As like the majority of headpieces from that time, it is a convertible piece, so you can wear it in more than one ways. It can turn into like 2 brooches. It looks like the crown of a Valkyrie. It's an aigrette. So you have a tiara at the bottom, and then you have 2 big wings attached to it, open wings. They're made out of platinum. This piece was created in the 1910, so very typical of the time as far as materials are concerned. We have a row of diamonds and then a row of like blue enamel, then diamonds and enamel. It's very, very impressive to the eye. And it sits on top of your head in various positions. Like you can place it, you can like direct the wings into any way you like. You can stand up, they can stand like this, and you can even remove the wings from the base of the tiara and then place them like on your shirt, on your blouse, and have a beautiful matching pair of brooches.
Like double clip almost.
Yeah.
What is a Valkyrie?
A Valkyrie is a mythological figure from Scandinavian mythology. So
I should know that.
So I think you would really like the Valkyries. They are basically warrior princesses. They are very fierce in battle.
They're no Queen Maeve. They're no Queen Maeve. Yeah.
They're very fierce in battle. They're very distinctive for their headpieces, so they wear wings as well on their heads, and they're famous for basically collecting the souls of like the brave warriors who have fallen in battle. They take them and they like transport them to the hall of Valhalla, which is basically like the equivalent of the Scandinavian paradise, something like that. So very fierce spirits that take care after the dead. And I think the dead that are like very worthy of going to paradise, basically.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of things that I'd add to that, Fenia, right, which are really interesting. Number one, the scale of them.
Yeah.
These are big as well. These are like, they must be probably 12 to 15 centimeters long. The blue enamel is just electric in color. Like it's really, really good. And again, it almost reminds me of the 1980s brooch and earrings that she had. It's the color combination. Like she must have liked that color combination, I'd say, because it's a feature. The tiara and the aigrette headpiece, super subtle. Like
Yes.
if you put that into your hair, it's gonna like just disappear, and you're just gonna see these wings like floating above you, right?
Floating wings above your head.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
But she wears them, and there's some of the pictures you'll see. She wears them one on each. She has like a jacket on. She wears one on each. What are these called again? Oh, what are those? Lapels. That's it. Yeah. God Almighty, lapels. Sometimes she wears them on both sides of a dress, pointing different directions. Like Caroline must really have like spent time like trial and error how to wear all these jewels. Like it wasn't just conventional. And I think that's something great for, when we're showing people jewelry. Okay, rings, okay, you wear those in your fingers, but you can blend those with other rings as well and stack them. But brooches, bracelets, there's loads of ways you can do these. In fact, we just got this incredible 19th century, well, we've had a little while, but it was a bracelet, but we added a ribbon onto it, which you can wear it as a collar necklace now. Like, so she really thinks about that, and I absolutely love that about her. I think it's that rebellious streak almost, like, okay, this is a tiara, I can wear it like this. Oh, but actually I can also do all these other things that other people wouldn't think of, and she was brave to do it.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned the word rebellious again, because I think that this jewel is so fitting for her public image. Like the Valkyries were female warriors of royal descent, and who would be more fitting to wear a piece that alludes to this mythological cycle than the rebel princess of Monaco, right?
In years to come, you think, how are people going to remember this and look at it?
The portrait, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I think that it would, like, Caroline would really like people to remember her as a normal person. To be honest, like if you see a lot of her interviews, she usually says that the media loves to portray me in a certain way, but I am more than that. And as I grow older and older, like I'm a mother also, I'm not just a princess. Like she has a multifaceted personality as any other person. So when we see those portraits, this portrait and these beautiful jewels, we obviously remember like the legacy of Caroline, how she stepped up, her rebellious face, her beauty, her like magnificent sense of style. But I think that we should also be mindful of the fact that we're dealing with a real person that has been in the spotlight for a very long time and feels very uncomfortable about it and just tries to do their best.
She enjoyed, I think, being the first lady of Monaco. I think she was quite good at it.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, in her interview, she never really said very much. Like, she was very, very efficient with her words, I
Yes,
would say.
she's a proper diplomat.
Proper diplomat.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a famous phrase, you know, you can't improve in saying nothing. Of course, she didn't say that. She did say, she did give the right phrases, very diplomatic, very kind person, I think. And then the jewelry for me and the portrait are like not that at all. They're like bold, rebellious, striking. So multifaceted personality for sure. There's a dichotomy there, but the jewelry, again, has that symbolism of resilience and kind of hardship that she had through her whole life. But she came through, and as you said, she's still there working away today.
To be honest, Matthew, I don't think that we could have chosen like a better example, a more fitting example to represent the 1980s period than the rebel princess of Monaco.
And that's all for this episode from Gem Pursuit. Fenia, I'd like to thank you very much for bringing your expertise in jewellery and art history and history overall to the episode today.
Thank you for having me, Matthew. That was so much fun.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on Instagram. As I mentioned at the start, there's a brand new page. It's called @GemPursuitPod. There's behind the scenes footage, additional images, jewellery examples, all the good stuff. And we'd love to hear from you on there. Either just comments, DM us, if you have suggestions or recommendations, or just any feedback. Genuinely, I'd absolutely love to hear from you. And obviously, as you can hear me, I'm sure, but if you can see me, it must mean that you're on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe, because we're getting all these videoed and up there as well, and there'll be images of jewelry as well, just to help the examples that we're trying to give. This episode was produced by Ross Hannon of Tape Deck, project management by Veronique Galgan, and Colin Weldon on videography. But for me, your host Matthew Weldon, for this week, see you next time.